Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Universities used to be great seats of learning, where the brightest pupils would aspire to go and be educated to a higher standard. This is sadly no longer the case. They are now hotbeds of communism, where children have to be protected. And yes, children, even though they may be of adult age, they're mentally still very small. This is evident from the fact that their reading material has to be given warnings because it may contain, shall we say, difficult imagery. Now, we're not talking awful books here. We're talking Charles Dickens, William Shakespeare, Geoffrey Chaucer. For heaven's sake, how does this prepare any student for life out in the real world, where life is not as easy as they seem to think it is? The snowflakes will melt when they get into the heat of reality. But let's take a look at this article. Now, this is relating to the Russell Group of universities, and they are supposedly seen as a good group, but they are actually sort of quite Marxist, really. But they don't cater for the needs of reality. They cater for the little wokeness, the little wokelets that go to them, who can't handle things like differing opinions or the bad man saying terrible words. In case they're wondering, I'm the bad man, and I say terrible things they don't like. But anyway, universities are accused of mollycoddling and patronising students as books are removed from reading lists over challenging content, and warnings are slapped on 1,000 texts, including works by Dickens, Shakespeare and Chaucer. The universities withdraw books or make them optional in case they harm students. The only way a book can possibly harm a student is if someone hits him over the head with it. Affected texts include Pulitzer Prize-winning novel The Underground Railroad, which is one of those books that should be absolutely read. It includes works of authors such as Geoffrey Chaucer and William Shakespeare. I mean, Chaucer should be obligatory. Shakespeare more or less was when I was a student. I remember at sort of high school, just secondary school, we did Romeo and Juliet, we did Julius Caesar, we did Hamlet, and we did the Scottish play. And they were all excellent. And I mean, even to this day, I remember standing reading in class and crying out, "Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war." These were great days, but they don't do them anymore because, oh, students, oh, that's got a terrible imagery. Oh, look, a person suffers. Oh, look. I mean, for God's sake, have they not looked in the papers? Have they not seen the television news? Have they not experienced life? Oh, no, they haven't, have they? Anyway, students say they feel patronised and mollycoddled after more than 1,000 texts were slapped with warnings or removed from reading lists due to their challenging content. An investigation has revealed at least 10 institutions, including 3 from the elite Russell Group, that have either withdrawn books or made them optional in case they harm or offend undergraduates. Being offended is obligatory. You cannot learn unless you are offended, because until you are offended, you don't know what actually offends you. Affected text includes the 2017 Pulitzer Prize-winning novel The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead and August Strindberg's classic Miss Julie, which both were pulled. Strindberg? My God, I mean, anyway. The works of literary greats such as Chaucer, Shakespeare, Jane Austen, Charlotte Bronte, Charles Dickens and Agatha Christie have also been given warnings. What on earth could they possibly give warnings over? Christie, oh, somebody might not make it to the end of the book. Seriously. Elizabeth McGregor, 22, studies beginning a novel module at the University of Essex, which no longer includes The Underground Railroad, a widely acclaimed book about man being terrible to other men that has been lauded by Barack Obama and Oprah Winfrey. Please excuse the terminology. You know the game. It's the YouTube words. Certain words throw up exceptions with YouTube. It doesn't like that word. The novel was removed from the reading list partly because of its graphic depiction of V and the abuse of people who work for nothing, despite the same depictions being branded essential by the Pulitzer Prize judges, who said it combines the V of those people and the drama of escape in a myth that speaks to contemporary America. But this was the whole point. The whole point of the Underground Railroad existing was because this stuff went on. It's reality. It's history. You do not learn unless you learn. What was the great saying? If you do not learn from history, you're going to repeat it. You're doomed to repeat it. And if these people don't learn that this sort of stuff happened, they're going to be the ones doing it. Of course, only they're the ones that are going to be wearing the jackboot, because they already are. Miss McGregor told the Times, "We've been told a few times that we can choose whether or not to read text, often when the themes are about where a person comes from, how a person got paid, or their gender. And they think we are children and are coddling us." Yes, they do, because a lot of you are children and complain. You only have to look at all the snowflakes and go, "Oh, I read a book and it was terrible. Oh, ban it." And then they get one complaint. A university will get one complaint from one little snowflake student and they remove the book entirely because they're spineless. Rather than saying to the one student, "You're obviously not suited for this course, please leave." In fact, that's all they need to do at the beginning of every course, is say, "This course contains material that may find upsetting. Please confirm whether you wish to continue with the course or leave." And that's it. That's all you need. Anyway, the university said the book had only been pulled from just one reading list, partly because another book was viewed as better suited to the learning aims. That smells of bullshit. A spokesman said it was still available in the library and the students were exposed to the realities of people not being paid for work in other courses and modules, adding that content warnings were being used because we find it helpful and considerate to tell students about the issues that might come up in books or plays they are reading. Here's an idea: let them read the book and discover it from themselves, like people have done for the last, 7,500 years. Was it then? Linear A, the Minoans, about 7,500 years ago. Certainly about 7,000 years ago you had hieroglyphics in Egypt, and they were telling tales and stories about great men. There was no warnings then. It was, here's the story of this, here's the story of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest stories ever written. And trust me, that was fairly bloody. And Gilgamesh and Enkidu, and they fought, and then they become friends, and they went off and did great battles. No one gave a warning there. That story's been around for 7,000 years. What is up with these people? Anyway, history students at Exeter can also opt out of reading The History of Mary Prince, another book on people who work for nothing, because it features graphic accounts of people from other places, people who work for nothing, and Extreme V. This is getting ridiculous, isn't it? Anyway, a spokesman said no student had asked for an alternative as yet. No, because the students need to learn it, and you pulling it and putting warnings on isn't going to stop that. Fellow history buffs at Lancaster University can also choose not to read a book, The Diary of Thomas Thistlewood, another one about people who didn't get paid for their work. Almost 300 Freedom of Information requests were sent by the Times to all 140 UK universities asking about these warnings and the removal of text due to content concerns. Essex and Sussex University admitted to pulling books for this reason, believed to be the first time it has happened at British institutions. But philosopher Kathleen Stock resigned as professor from the university last year after receiving backlash over her views on sex and gender, which saw her labelled as a phobic. But of course she isn't. She isn't phobic, and in fact she shouldn't have been fired. That view is entirely legal. Indeed, Alison Bailey won a case at court that guarantees having that viewpoint is not only allowed, is not only legal, it's now a protected belief. So they can't be firing you for having that stance, that gender cannot be changed and sex cannot be changed. It is enshrined in British law that you can hold those beliefs freely and may not be discriminated against them. But that's the battles you're having to fight. And that's the battles you're having to fight in universities, academia all over. They're so left-wing. They treat these students almost with contempt. They say, "Oh, they're too bland." But the reason this is happening is because the ones that have gone before them, the woke ones before them, have complained and cried and whined and whinged, and this has happened. What you're seeing is the result of 30 years of an easy life in this country. No one has struggled for 30 years, and it's made them weak. But we're going to have 15% inflation. There's going to be mass unemployment. There's going to be a collapsing economy, and 2 or 3 of these people who are moaning about the content of a book this week will be fighting over the corpse of a cat for their lunch next week. It's coming, and they're going to grow up, and it will make for stronger, better students who won't be having to have warnings on books because of the content. We hope. Anyway, I shall come up and round off. The academics of this country are horrendously left-wing, but they're also very, very poor at their job. Their job is to prepare students for reality. And while they mollycoddle them, protect them, save them from reading harmful product, they do them no favours. Now, there are undoubtedly a lot, we see them. There are a lot of students that go in there that can't handle reality. They've never been told no. They've never been refused anything in their life. And so when someone like me or their boss, their new boss when they leave university and go into work, says no, or do this because I'm telling you to, no, you can't take that off, you can't wear that, and so forth. They literally cannot handle it. They have no preparation for refusal. They have never been told no. They have never been told they can't. And it's so funny when you see them. We see them all the time where they just cannot handle reality because they've never had to face it. But I think reality is about to come and, give them a big fat wet kiss. And that'll be so funny to watch. They'll be in tears. But until that happens, I shall continue to point this sort of stupidity out. And I hope that you join me on our journey. Anyway, I shall finish now. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see and hear on the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notification of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment, and until next time, stay safe, stay well, prepare your children for reality, and goodbye.